And now, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda commences tonight's Satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will begin with six songs from Reincarnation, made and sung by Swami Jyotirmayananda.
No, we're going to have a surprise tonight, and the program will continue with Maheshananda singing a bhajan.
We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is July the 3rd, 2018, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 52. And now Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatītam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha. In Utpatti Prakarana, the story of Leela continues. Just to give you a little glimpse into the story. The story starts first. It starts with Leela. King Padma and Leela, they lived together for 70 years or more, very righteous. Padma was a righteous king. And Leela had developed a special devotion to Goddess Saraswati. And she had secured a boon that when her husband were to die, let his soul stay right in the royal palace, the same room, that bedroom. And Goddess Saraswati granted that boon to her. And it so happened that he did die. And she felt extremely under profound grief. And the voice of Goddess Saraswati rang in that atmosphere. Goddess Saraswati said, "O Leela, your husband's soul is right here in your own room. Keep the dead body covered with flowers, and in a while a miracle will happen. Padma will come back to life." Leela experienced intense separation from her husband. The idea that this soul is still there, that's not much of a comfort. That's what always people give the comfort. The departed soul of a near and dear one. And the philosophical hand reaches out to your head. His soul has not gone anywhere. I'm just distracting, but but that's the whole story, is to give you insight, how to have a profound understanding. Now, coming back to the story, Leela began to suffer from separation and pleaded with Goddess Saraswati to let her be with her husband and see what was he doing. And Leela, Saraswati Devi gave her that possibility. She kept her body in meditative pose, and with her subtle body, she went into a astral travel. And she found that her husband had already he's a prince. He's inherited a kingdom. He's about 10-year-old or more. And his bards are speaking of the glory of his father and his grandfather and great-great-grandfather. He comes in a royal Raghu line. All that Leela saw with great wonder. But that didn't much affect her. But she saw most of the people looking exactly like the people she had in her kingdom. The royal court, people, ministers and others, they were all there. She was shocked that not only my husband has died, but all those, there must be some calamity and they suddenly all died. Returning to her own place, which is again, all the journey was in the corner of that room. Returning to her place, she summoned all that special congregation, bringing all people, even during the night. And to her surprise, they were all there intact. They didn't go there. So she dismissed them. And then, again, she communicated with Goddess Saraswati. And Goddess Saraswati told her that it is not so surprising. And to cut the story short, she led her to another astral journey. Guided her this time, Goddess Saraswati and Leela both, through astral process. While Leela's body is still there, just in meditation, and the dead body is covered with flowers. And in that journey, they go through a vast distance, but all becomes possible by Goddess Saraswati. They soar through the mountains, heights in the sky, like birds. They watch over not only the Earth planet, but all stars and planets, the vast universe, and come back to a city, rather a village in a hilly region called Parvat Gram. And Goddess Saraswati tells Leela that this is your place in your previous embodiment. In your previous embodiment, your husband Padma was known as Vasistha, and you were known as Arundhati. Both of you were in Brahmin family, and you lived your life with lots of near and dear ones, and they are still grieving. In this place, only 7 days have passed. And The tears in their eyes have not dried up yet. And from an aerial view shows, this is your son, Jyeshta Sharma, your beloved son. And he is grieving terribly. And Goddess Saraswati allows Leela to bless Jyeshta Sharma, but not introducing her as a mother, but as a forest goddess. And there she remembers all the details of her life as Arundhati, recognizes her maidservant, even the calf that she loved dearly, and spent some time removing the fleece from the ears of the calf. And that calf is still there, missing. And all the near and dear ones are still there, talking about her as if just few days have passed. In her world, so many years. And all that has happened, Saraswati tells her, that as Arundhati, she also had offered prayers to me. And I had granted her the boon. And what she asked was that when her husband dies, let the soul stay in the corner of Parvat Gram, in that particular house. So, it is in that corner that entire world of Padma and Leela story has happened, just in that corner. And in the corner of your room, you must realize, 3 planes are there. First plane, the corner of that plane opens up the second plane. The corner of the second plane opens up the third plane. In the third plane, Padma is Viduratha, a king. And time is totally changed. It changes minute by minute. All the time experiences are not real. That's what Vasistha goes on giving you insight. Through this story, you are being given a profound insight into the illusory nature of the world. And as I have explained to you, it's easier with modern advancement. Look at your desktop. You open a folder. And where will you create a file? Just in the corner of the folder. And if you have put another folder within the folder, that folder again will allow you in its corner another. If your ordinary mind compared to human mind, your mind is ordinary. Little. If human mind can bring about that technology, think of cosmic mind that has presented this entire universe. So you're not dealing with, each time as you begin, one person begins to exercise his intellect. Somebody has died. The person wants to know, where is he born? And of course, there are many people who begin to give you answer matching up to your way of thinking. But that is not the real answer. In other words, you may imagine that the person who has died must at least take 12 months or at least 10 months. Allow the baby to stay in the mother's womb. And then he will be born. But that is not really so. When you go to sleep, within a moment you enter into another world. Why should a soul have to wait in time? Time and space are not realities. Human mind's concepts. This experience through your mind, what you think of time and space, is based upon your mind. The bird's mind thinks totally differently. Even in human beings, there are different levels. When you are very joyous, time marches on and you don't count the time. If you are very suspenseful, even short period of time is like the whole year you have lived through. So that point is brought out. Coming back to the story. Presently, Leela has been led to the world of Viduratha. That's in the corner of Leela's bedroom. This another world has opened. But going from her place to Viduratha's place, described as a whole journey, soul's journey through space, over mountains, crossing oceans, and finally landing into the world of Viduratha. By this time, this is the second time she is coming to Viduratha's place. Only few hours have passed. But now in Viduratha's place, Viduratha is an old man, 72-year-old. He has lived through lots of challenges, done lots of great things. And presently he is facing a predicament, a kind of, an enemy has attacked him. King of Sindhu. And Viduratha is involved with that enemy, the fighting with the enemy. Another point, Viduratha has a daughter who is unmarried, and he has a wife who looks exactly like Leela. And coincidentally, her name is Leela. Karma operates in a very mysterious way. Can place you in similar circumstances if your karma demands. So at this stage, we follow the story. Now listen to the story of Leela. Goddess Saraswati told King Viduratha how she had guided Leela to different worlds in order to impart spiritual wisdom to her. Here the setting is Viduratha has retired from a big battle. He is resting in his royal palace. Right at that time, Saraswati and Leela enters the room in a divine way. And Viduratha views them as goddesses. And also, Goddess Saraswati has given to him this insight that he was Padma and Leela, his queen, was with Goddess Saraswati. In this course of things, King Viduratha said to Goddess Saraswati, "O Goddess, I am an ordinary mortal, yet I fulfill the needs of those who seek my help. You are the giver of infinite gifts. I have taken refuge in you. Soon, setting aside this physical body, I will pass on to the world of Padma." This is what Goddess Saraswati had told him. "May this minister as well as my unmarried daughter follow me into that world." Goddess Saraswati said, "May it be so. Your wishes will be granted, O king. In this battle, you are going to die. The princess and your minister will leave their physical bodies and will follow your spirit's astral path." While this conversation was in progress, a servant entered the room in a state of fright and reported to the king that the enemies had devastated the capital and had entered the palace gates. Soon the clamor of the battlefield filled the atmosphere. The king prepared himself for confronting his enemies. While this was going on at that moment, Viduratha's beloved queen entered the room. And we will be calling that Leela number 2. She was an exact replica of Leela, beautifully attired, endowed with the charm of youth. This Leela had come to seek refuge with the king. Seeing this, the king said to both of them, that's Goddess Saraswati and Leela, "O goddesses, a mountain of misery has fallen upon me. Please excuse me, I must go to fight my enemies. Meanwhile, my queen Leela number 2, will serve your lotus feet. Please protect her." Leela asked, that was same Leela number 1, "O goddess, how is it that this queen appears exactly as I used to appear in my youth?" That points to the amazing illusion of similarity. First point to understand, think of a relation between a child and a mother. Now, the way the child sees the mother in the morning, in the evening he may not have the same type of feeling. He may see mother as more learned or whatever. I'm leading you to understand that sometimes you leave your place and go to foreign land. Now you look at people. If by chance you find similar faces, and you are drawn to those faces and you find they have a similar nature. As if your mother has traveled with you, your father has traveled with you, your friends are with you. The real people have nothing to do with it. What I'm leading you to understand, real people, even in very close relationship. Any experience is based on karma. If karmically things are wrong, a family may live with very near and dear one and have no connection. Might have seen those families. Son has become young and doesn't have reverence for parents, but lives in the same apartment, close by, but will say good morning. It becomes too difficult to understand. Just understand in a simple way. If you are sulky, you are in the same setting, and now you are far away. How close are you to yourself? You yourself don't know. Much less can you know whether you are close to somebody else. Practical reality goes on, but there is a profounder aspect remains unresolved. It's mystery. In brief, Viduratha, led by his karmic process, finds himself with another personality. The whole world is God's, and any personality can be matched by God because his resources are boundless. He can create 1,000 leelas, looking exactly alike. Leela asked, "O goddess, how is it that this queen appears exactly as I used to appear? How can I be existing in the form of this queen? What is the mystery behind it? Also, these ministers and attendants of the king look exactly like those in the world of Padma. How is it possible for them to exist both here as well as there?" Goddess Saraswati explained, "O Leela, the power of consciousness is endless. Similar karmas give rise to both similar and dissimilar conditions. Your karmas determine it. If karmas are very similar, sometimes you find in a big crowd of people, 2 or 3 personalities exactly alike. And they have no relationship with it. But they have the same fashion, they have the same type of hairstyle. King Vidursa has attracted to himself a world process wherein he is attended by similar ministers and is wedded to a similar queen. This world exists like a reflection in the mirror of the Chitta. Chitta is mind. But due to intensification of illusion, it becomes real for the soul. The mind goes on handling all this without question. There is no enquiry, is it real? There is no inquiry, who am I? The mind just takes it as it is and intensifies it by day, supporting that illusion. And whatever you sustain in your mind day by day, that becomes your reality. Though the world of King Viduratha is made of the substance of dream arising from the mind of King Padma, yet it has become real for him because his essential self has rendered all this real. With deep insight, you can understand the illusoriness of this world. At the time of birth, death becomes illusory. During dream, the waking world does not exist. Upon waking, the dream becomes non-existent. In fact, this illusory world is sustained by the reality of the self. All these illusions go on, but behind all these illusions there is the absolute reality. That's the divine self. Behind all the programs that come flash through your desktop remains the same. I'm joking. For easy understanding. The desktop in you is your pure consciousness. I am that. That, all religions talk about I am that. That's the reality. All else, the drama created by mind. Maneva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the cause of bondage and release. All experience of the mind is mental. They are illusions created by thought waves of the mind. Like all cinema shows are based on projections, frame after frame projected on the screen. All your experiences are projections. When this illusion is negated, all this is realized as Brahman. Leela number 2 exists as an image of your own self. But she has been identified, she has been rendered real by the force of consciousness. that underlies the subtle desires of Viduratha. To give you stories, trying to give you little opening to the higher level, but we want to have bigger opening. Understand that all living beings are you. Not one Leela, all is Leela. The entire world. Absolute truth is like the sun. And there are countless spots with water, countless embodiments. But each embodiment experiences, each embodiment has a reflected sun. Each embodiment develops the idea, I am this within this bucket, within this body-mind complex, this is my world, all that. But understand what's the reality of the reflected sun. The reality is the sun. Now derive from this another reality, that all reflected suns are from the same sun. So if you are the sun, you are also all these suns. Led by karma, you can become related to any one of these individuals. How close can you be? You can't imagine. Because they are as if your own reflections. This point is being brought out in Leela's story. You, Goddess Saraswati is saying, you, I, the king, are confined to this world. This world is confined to a universe. This universe drifts like a dust particle in the vastness of the mystic space. That mystic space is nothing but pure consciousness, Brahman. Section 45. Shri Saraswati said, O Leela, King Viduratha is going to be killed in this battle. After death, he will enter again into the body of Padma, which lies covered with flowers in your palace. Yes, Saraswati was talking to the Leela number 1. And Leela number 2 was hearing this. And Leela number 2 said, O goddess, I have always been a devotee of you, Goddess Saraswati. Many times during my dreams, I have been blessed with the vision of Goddess Saraswati. You look exactly like the divine vision of my dreams. Surely you are the goddess whom I have worshipped day and night. Please confer on me this boon. When my husband dies, may I follow him to his next embodiment as King Padma and be his queen. The same story repeats. May I enter into Padma's world with my physical body? Goddess Saraswati replied, O Leela, this is Leela number 2, I am immensely pleased with your devotion. Therefore your boon is granted. You will enter your husband's next world, even with your physical body. Now, just to let you know, it doesn't happen that way. She had to discard her body and enters. And Leela number 1 asks, how is it your boon didn't work? Saraswati said, all the boon and the functions of the boon, they are in the realm of Maya. To that soul, the boon worked. The soul doesn't have the experience that it didn't enter. Everyone is led by their own way of thinking. So what is real to you, to another one may not be real. So don't become puzzled by it. But to everyone, the boon is granted. And the boon operates according to your karmic process. If you are liberated, you don't need the boon. But as long as you are not liberated, the boon and the functions of the boon are also in the realm of Maya. Figure that out. On hearing this Leela, the first was confounded. Wishing to be enlightened on this matter, she asked, O goddess, you are endowed with the power of Satsankalpa, because whatever you say will be true. You have the power to bring me into the world of King Viduratha, even in my physical form. Even that is not correct. Leela's body is there. But she has again developed another way of, another illusion that she has just come along with her physical body. Now that's the story, is that she was led to Viduratha's world first time in her physical body. Why did you teach me the art of leaving the physical body and traveling through the subtle worlds with the subtle body? While this Leela too has been granted the boon of going to the world of Padma in her own physical body. This partiality. Goddess Saraswati replied, I am the deity presiding over consciousness in every being. I grant whatever the individual soul wishes on the basis of its devotion to me. I do not impose anything upon anyone on the basis of my own wishes, because I have none. In fact, I do nothing to anyone. Every soul receives from me whatever he desires. जिसकी रही भावना जैसी, प्रभु मूर्ति देखी तिन तैसी. Led by your bhavana, whatever is your feelings, aspect of your mind, you experience. What do you experience? God in the form of all your time and space. Led by your choice. Out in the desktop, you experience Alaska, India, birds flying, terrorists fighting. Experience all that. Led by your bhavana, what you want. The reality remains, all that what you want is based upon your conditioned mind, and it is not the absolute real. So there is the moment you are not with the absolute self. Anything other than absolute self doesn't exist. When you dream, not for a moment have you left your bed. But the dream goes, but while you are caught in the illusion of dream, you are far from your cozy bed. Such is the mystery of mind. And the moral of the story is how to handle that mind. We allow that mind to flow towards bhakti, devotion. Integrate, being integral yoga. Just don't stay with the mind as it is. Understand its resources. With Godward movement, your mind will lead the soul to its absolute truth. But other than Godward movement, you are led to samsara, the world process, where in every corner another universe opens. And there is no end to world within world. You have adored me for attaining wisdom and liberation. Therefore, you have been led to journey through the subtle worlds with your subtle body. You have been given the experiences which are necessary for your enlightenment. Whatever boon a person receives from a deity is due to his own self-effort. Your own self-effort assumes the form of a god or a goddess and grants a boon that is the fruit of your sustained movement. An individual determines what is good for himself. Then he directs his effort towards the attainment of what is good. As a result of his sustained effort, I, the deity of his consciousness, grant him success. All this is limited, you see. If you are a farmer and you are praying, oh God, give me good harvest. Last time it failed, let me have wonderful this time. And the God comes, oh, boon is granted. In other words, your mind brings out miracles. Sustain a certain view, direct your effort to a certain goal, and you achieve it. But point is, you should discover its profound potency. Mind is not just meant to lead you to perishable situations, perishable attainments. If you are doing that, you are just insulting your mind. Mind is meant to lead you to liberation. If you move towards it, then that's the purpose. But all through, wherever your mind is, the divine source will supply whatever your mind aspires for, desires for. Sri Rama asked, you must realize Yoga Vasistha is in the beginning, from the very beginning to end. Vasistha telling all this to Rama. Sri Rama asked, O sage, when the two Leelas and the goddess were conversing among themselves in the royal palace. King Viduratha went out of the palace to fight with his enemies. What happened to him? Vasistha replied, O Rama, King Viduratha organized his entire army, and like the moon surrounded by stars, he proceeded to meet his enemies in the battlefield. King Viduratha was riding in a chariot that was yoked to 8 powerful horses. See, that's old style entertainment. Now we are busy seeing how the battle went on. Soon the battlefield resounded with the neighing of the horses, clatter of the weapons, the hissing of the arrows, and the cries of the injured, the shouts of the warriors, and the tumultuous sound of drums and conches. It's old time, otherwise we'll have a different description. While the two armies were fighting this terrible battle, the two Leelas asked the goddess, O goddess, King Viduratha is your devotee. He has received your grace. So why isn't he winning this battle? Goddess Saraswati replied, O daughters, King Sindhu is also my devotee, the enemy who is fighting against King Padma. He has worshipped me for the sake of attaining victory over his enemies. Therefore, he is going to be victorious. Now, understand, many points here are brought together. King Padma has his aspiration to attain liberation, and Goddess Saraswati leading him into that. His enemy's aspiration was to be a king. He was for bhoga, enjoyment. Padma was for moksha. Now, from worldly point of view, it puts human mind into a turmoil. One who is such a big devotee is going to be crushed in a miserable way. And one whose aspiration is worldly, he is going to be given success. To worldly mind, the enemy, Sindhu king, wins. He is killed. Another point is brought out at this stage. While the battle goes on, 3 personalities in an aerial way, having an aerial view. Goddess Saraswati, to her nothing is happening. It's a big show. Leela number 1 is coming close to enlightenment, but not completely. She's eager to see her husband up there. So the predicament of his death is not so painful to her. Leela number 2 feels intense pain that my husband has received all the grace, and look, he's being tortured and I can't do anything about it. All views are there, while what's happening is one event, and different ways they are being interpreted. You have within you all these angles. If you have profound relation with God, you are having a godly view, and nothing is happening. You are like the sky. All things happen are clouds, and they are not going to scratch you. You are intact. King Vidurtha did not worship me for the attainment of victory. He has sought my grace to re-enter the body of King Padma and then to attain liberation. Therefore, he is going to be defeated and killed. I am the deity of consciousness, seated in the heart of all living beings. Whoever worships me receives my grace according to his desires. One who worships me for victory and success in this world attains them. But one who worships me for liberation is led through the experiences of life that are conducive to spiritual enlightenment. Yoga Vasistha continued, while Goddess Saraswati was talking to the two Leelas, the sun began to set in the western horizon. The fight between the two armies was terrible. It was as if two oceans had come to fuse with each other during the time of universal deluge. So the two kings came face to face in the process of fighting. King Vidurtha exhibited his extraordinary skill. Now there's a whole description of shooting the arrows and all that. I'm skipping a little. During this terrible battle, King Sindhu lost his chariot. He continued fighting on foot, and with the dexterity of his hands, he destroyed Vidurtha's chariot. Consequently, both the kings began to fight on foot. In the course of fight, King Sindhu threw a spear which pierced the heart of King Vidurtha. However, he didn't die immediately. At this stage of the battle, Leela number 2 asked the Devis, Leela and Saraswati, O goddess, how terrible. King Sindhu is looking for a powerful weapon to destroy my husband. But behold, our king, even though injured, has skillfully entered into his own chariot. But alas, even that chariot has been destroyed by King Sindhu. Now the enemy king has pierced the shoulders of my husband. She complains, grieves, and the result, Leela too fell down in a swoon and died. She was given the boon that she will go bodily to the other world. In her experience, there was no death. She has just traveled. In the meantime, the king's charioteer lifted the wounded body of the king into another chariot and drove back to the palace. The enemies chased the chariot up to the palace gates. The wounded king was brought into the presence of Goddess Saraswati. Because of her divine presence, his enemies were not able to pursue him into the palace. And then in the presence of the goddess, the king passed away. Sri Vasistha continued, O Rama, King Sindhu and his army began to shout with joy. They declared their victory and rejoiced at the death of their enemy. Also giving a broad view how the whole crowd is rejoicing, but they are in illusion. One who really won was the one who was defeated, because he is going to attain moksha. But the mass view is totally different. King Vidurastha was about to depart from his body, just going a step back. Seeing this, Leela asked Goddess Saraswati, Leela number 1, O Goddess, my husband is ready to leave the body of Vidurastha. Behold how he struggles to free himself from this physical body. Goddess Saraswati said, O gentle Leela, you have seen this great battle and have witnessed the terrible events. And yet all this exists like a dream. Nothing has been created and nothing has been destroyed. Recall, O Leela, the small space in the house of Brahmin Vasistha, where there is a village known as Parvatgram. Recall, O Leela, that different world systems containing Parvatgram, in that village, there lived a Brahmin known as Vasistha. In the space of Vasistha's room, there exists another world system. It is in that world that the spirits of Vasistha and his wife became King Padma and his beloved Queen Leela. Is it not a wonder how this vast world of Padma is confined to a little space in the room of Brahmin Vasistha? And this creation is still more wondrous. In a room in King Padma's palace, in a small space, the spirit of King Padma has experienced a world system wherein he became a king, known as Viduratha. All that you have witnessed is confined to a little space in King Padma's room. Understand the illusoriness of this world, O Leela, and direct your mind to the eternal self, wherein the worlds cease to exist. That self is non-dual, unborn, immortal, and the supreme abode of all souls. All this is indeed the supreme self. That's the ultimate objective of all that story. But all this is necessary for your mind to understand how things are not the way you experience them. Things are not the way you understand them. Your understanding should not be confined to a kindergarten mathematics. And with this we'll conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Well, if anyone dares to ask a question. Please raise your hand. And
Dear,
Radhika
dear.
Will, and Radhika will bring you the mic.
Gurudev, so Lila 1 and Lila 2 there is no relationship between them, like the moksha of one doesn't, interrelationship, like if one
In a storyline, the relationship is that Leela number 2 is a shadow. Say, for example, someone is dear to you, and he goes into dream and sees you having wonderful party along with him. You are number 1, and he is with number 2. Figure that out. Okay.
So if Leela number 1 attain moksha, then Leela number 2 doesn't exist anymore? It disappeared?
No. Sometimes Leela number 1 a person has died and another person dreams of having a party with the person. Try to not get confused. The world is Maya. No one is exactly as one appears. You are not exactly what you think yourself to be. If you understand that, then the same applies with everybody. The reality that for the enlightenment, once your mind is enlightened, then the reality is, I am that. There is only one absolute. But as long as your identity is based upon your mental operation, mental function, that identity is, firstly, you are yourself a shadow. You get another shadow, no problem. Okay.
Ram Gurudev. Gurudev, Maya, is it same as the mind?
Both go together, coincidence. And if there is no mind, there will be no Maya. Again, you must realize you are trying to put Maya as an entity. That itself is Maya. If the mind is trying to figure out Maya as an entity and then matching up, where is Maya? Maya is here, mind is here. That's a question is already within an illusion. Answer can be given to match up with your question. That answer is that they are coexistent. Mind and Maya both coexist. Remove one of them, the other will go away.
Swamiji, the mind creates the body and the intellect and the ego. And
mind doesn't really create it. You see, a cloud comes before the sun. The rainbows develop. Sun's light becomes refracted. You can say the cloud created it. But it really didn't create it. All the creation is the same sun being refracted through mental limitation. Through your same eyes, you have little dust particle goes into your eyes, and things that you see become totally different. In your mind, you may develop the idea, your previous concept, how things were, and now your present concept, through your present eyes, how things are. And create a third point, some enemy did all that.
So Swamiji, when you say the mind can elevate itself and take you Godward, and the same mind can take you in the world process.
That's correct. That's why Satsanga is needed. That's why you have came from a long distance.
Thank you.
You could have gone to a noisy party.
Well, if we are really in this corner of Miami and we are really eating this pudding, and if it's really as delicious as it seems to be, we thank the illusory creator of this pudding, which is Malini's family. Malini from Texas, Malini, Atul, Shreya, and Siddhartha. So we're hanging on to the reality of this pudding. Tomorrow night on Wednesday, Swamiji will continue Yoga Vasistha. So be brave, be wise, be reflective, and come to Satsang. We may have some illusory firecrackers and fireworks going on around us in the neighborhood, but we will all persevere. On Friday, Swamiji will continue with the Ramayana by St. Tulsidas Ji, and Saturday, pranayama at 7 and guided meditation at 7:30. And on Sunday, Swamiji will continue the Bhagavad Gita, and we'll have a delicious dinner along with the lecture. And definitely not an illusion, on July 22nd, Sunday, no matter which corner of the world we're in the universe, we will celebrate Guru Purnima at 5 p.m. on Sunday, July 22nd. So let's all try to be together for that wonderful event. And illusory kumkum. Please come.